Hello, welcome to Thursday, July 6th. Getting ready to go out to eat with family. My mom and Mike, of course, and also Avery, which is my nephew, Ethan. He was here the other day. It's his sister. It's that one.
What are you doing? He's recording.
I'm recording you.
Why?
Because I record everything. It's what I do now. Pretzel bites. Burger arrived, and I still haven't finished my pretzels.
Come on.
She got a really boring plate with some chicken and fries.
Peace.
And that was a fun little meal. But now to the bulk of, the focus of today's vlog, and that is my Doctor Who Season 10 review. And unlike the other day, when I finished it, I've had some time to think about it, and so I'm going to talk about it. And this is full of spoilers. Lots of spoilers. Spoilers. So if you haven't watched all of Season 10 and even have the slightest consideration that you might, stop now. I'm going to end the day at the end of this bit, so you're not missing anything else, just the spoilers for Season 10 of Doctor Who. And of course my opinions about it. So go away if you haven't already watched that. But if you have, and you want to have a discussion with me maybe in the comments, what you thought, I'll start with some of my opinions and my thoughts. I just have sort of the list of episodes pulled up. And in general, this season had a burden to create a whole new... I'm on to the spoilers part. You better be gone if you're not. Had the burden of creating a whole new companion, building a relationship, and then having that relationship to rely on in the end. So there are quite a few episodes that really, they're just developing that relationship. Because we start with the pilot. And it introduces Bill Potts, the companion for the series. It does confirm for us Nardole is back for this series, which is good. Nardole was hilarious. I love him as a character. And as an actor, he's very good as well. And so that, that's one with the weird creature, whatever the pilot is, Heather. The love interest for Bill Potts in this episode, and then again at the end of the season, a great tie-up, by the way. Sort of introducing the character, things about the character, and it worked well enough. Very much an introductory episode. But then we have a series of them just sort of building up, getting the idea of, okay, we have to cover all of these bases so that Bill can become used to the kind of adventures that you have with the Doctor. And so that by the end, Bill can be a character that is accustomed to this kind of lifestyle. So we go to Smile. Weird, other planet, robots misunderstanding human emotion and therefore killing humans. Yeah, that sort of plot's been done before. Some interesting look to things, but for the most part, whatever. Felt very much like some of the previous episodes. Felt really like, what is that? Oh, You My Mummy, from back in the Ninth Doctors. That's season 1 of the reboot series. With the nanobots misunderstanding things. It's very much that same plotline, just used again here. But, okay, so Bill has now seen other planets and had to, fight things with that. Okay, check. Thin Ice. Ooh, Thin Ice was actually really good. It's the one getting her used to time travel to the past. And, but it was the frozen fair on the Thames, whatever, I'm not going to pronounce that correct. But with, that Victorian era, and I tend to like the Victorian era stuff anyways, so... just looks so pretty, and all with the winter setting, cool. Kind of weird thing with we have alien monster trapped underneath the water, and we're mining its feces for a fuel source. Weird, but okay, whatever. Interesting, weird plot, but really cool visuals, and of course getting Bill accustomed to traveling to the past. So, check. Then we get Knock Knock, this season's, horror episode. Not great, but, whatever. I don't tend to like a lot of the horror episodes, although a couple of them are some of my favorites. But a lot of them just sort of fall short, and But yeah, whatever. The dryads, the wood creatures that... Oh, misunderstanding and things like that. Whatever. Also kind of feels weird having the whole cast of other students with Bill. But again, trying to say, okay, Bill is trying to have a life while also traveling with the Doctor, trying to get that point across. And this is actually the one, at the end of it, he goes to the vault. Because up till this point, we've set up little bits, Doctor and Nardole, there's this vault that the Doctor is supposed to be guarding. He's not supposed to be traveling away because he needs to guard this thing. What's inside? This is the one I figured it out. And it's there at the end, because obviously it's something in there. And it's someone, because we've heard them knocking, and in this one they're playing the piano, I think. And there's a point where he mentions to them, to who or whatever is in the vault, that he has a story to tell. He's going to visit whoever's in the vault. A story to tell about, about the terrors these children have gone with. And you get a sense from, I think it's from the piano playing, I don't remember, but you get a sense from, excitement on the terrible things have happened to children. And I'm like, it's Missy, or the Master. I didn't know which, presumably still Missy, but I just knew that's the character was. It was the Master. Just from the response to, terrible things happening to people. I'm happy. That's just that kind of crazy response you get from the Master. So that was when that finally came together for me. And then we get Oxygen, which sets up a few episode long little mini plot that's kind of interesting. Oxygen was out in space, weird smart spacesuits, and a company trying to off their crew because it's cheaper to get rid of them than, maintain them. Whatever. But in this one, the Doctor goes blind and claims to get over it, but at the end reveals no, he's actually blind. And I'm like, well, how long is the Doctor going to be blind? I mean, I knew he was going to regenerate at the end of this season. I'm like, could they have him blind for the rest of this season, until the regeneration? I mean, they could have. I didn't know. They didn't, but they could have. And so that was really interesting and sort of a big ending there. And then, of course, we get Extremis. First off, that one begins, and they officially make it clear to everyone. Missy's the one in the vault. Doctor was supposed to execute her. Because he's the Doctor, he didn't. And instead decided to guard her for, what does Wikipedia say, 1,000 years. So, we know now Missy's the one in the vault, and that's why the Doctor's supposed to be there, is to continue the guarding, the promise that he's had to guard her. But, outside of that, it's a complete simulation. It's all this whole computer thing, and it's virtual reality. It kind of feels like an empty episode. In the series as a whole, I mean, it sets some things up. It sets up the monks, which are crucial here, and that kind of thing. But it's empty, because none of it really happened. But it's cool because of that, too. It's sort of a projection, a simulation of the world. And sort of this idea of the Extremis is a book that reveals to people, basically, the world can't properly do a random number generator, and therefore they figure out, wait, we're part of a simulation, the world isn't real, and people are killing themselves. Really, they're just ending their portion in the simulation because they're not really in there. So it was kind of a weird, trippy thing with that. They did it well. Kind of, in the whole for the season, felt hollow because whenever you say it was all a dream, and you're like, well, then why did I watch it? But it was cool. And then we get to another really great one, continuing the story of the monks, and it's the pyramid at the end of the world. And it's the pyramid showing up because the world's about to end, and they're offering to save it if someone gives them permission and lets them take over. And the whole plotline of the story of the chemistry lab and what they're doing, brilliantly done. A wonderful two stories going on at the same place, or same time at different places, and sort of, are they going to figure it out? Are they going to connect them? And then using at the end with the Doctor's blindness being the issue, and not agreeing to let the monks take over the world for the sake of saving the world, but for saving the Doctor. And you could kind of see it coming a little bit of ways. You knew, but, it's the kind of thing of, they set it up, and it's a minute before it happens, you figure out there's no other way, and it's going to happen, which is great. I love that point in storytelling, when when you don't expect it until right before it happens, but before it actually happens, you know it's what has to happen. It's the right thing to happen. Really good. But then we go to the lie of the land. And this is the one where the monks have taken over. And their propaganda has convinced everybody that they've always been there and always led humanity. And it's just sort of really creepy, because they've inserted the monks into all these historical things. And you have Bill here resisting. It's part of a resistance. And this is the point where they're really building up her character to be ready for the terrible things that, really they have to undergo in the last couple episodes. Is just sort of the character she builds in resisting without the Doctor, but aware of what's going on around her. This is showing the strength she's gained so far and building up the rest of the strength she's going to need to get her through the rest of the season. And it really is her rescuing the Doctor, who didn't really need to be rescued, but who had to look like he did anyways, because he had to make sure that she was in her right mind as well, and completely, before that, because everyone had their mind pretty much warped by the monks. And so together they're able to do it, and ultimately it's images of Bill's mother, who, in one of the first few episodes, I forget exactly which, the Doctor finds out that Bill, who's adopted, doesn't have any pictures of her mother. She doesn't know really anything about her mother. And so the Doctor uses his I can travel through time to go back and make sure that there are photographs of her mother, and that they end up somewhere where Bill will find them at some point in her life. And so Bill had found this box of photographs, or been given it by her adopted mother or something, but where she'd received that, and she'd had all of a sudden memories and gotten to see her mother, and just, the little connections to her birth mother that it was simple, but you could tell, and it really just wonderful acting, but, that sort of meaning that has, and you can imagine that meaning that has, and ultimately she utilized those memories that she'd built up of her mother through just the photographs she's had to overwhelm the monks and fix humanity and the mindset and erase the monks from everyone's mind and return things to normal. Okay, so now we've gotten back more to a neutral state. Doctor can see again. World's back to normal after it. Good. Back at the vault with Missy. Missy expresses remorse. Missy starts to, whether for real or as an act to fool the Doctor, express sadness in some of the terrible things that she has done, and she as the Master has done. And you start getting this idea of the Doctor has hope that she can be redeemed. Maybe she can, maybe she can't, but he hopes that she can. And that starts things. Empress of Mars. This is the Ice Warriors on Mars story. Kind of a weird thing. Whatever. Soldiers from Victorian Britain on Mars helping with some sort of mining operation as the Ice Warriors trying to free the Ice Queen. Weird. Ultimately, the point of this episode, Nardole ends up in the TARDIS and back on Earth. He has to get the TARDIS back to the Doctor. He needs help to do it. He ends up turning to Missy. And Missy follows through. Uses the TARDIS, rescues the Doctor and Bill. Is seemingly trustworthy. Okay, then. There's another step in this Missy story of redemption. Okay. Gotta go back to the vault, he says. No complaints there. She just did what was right. Ooh. Good call, Missy. Eaters of Light. This is Roman occupied Britain, or sort of. Looking for the Roman army, and there's some barbarians in Britain, 2nd century, Scotland, I suppose. My bad. United Kingdom. Before being united. And sort of going to the Picts and the Roman army, and sort of the group ends up split up with Bill, ending up allied with the Romans, and Nardole and the Doctor allied with the Picts, and really bringing them together, getting them to work together, and getting them to fight against this weird monster creature that is terrorizing them all. Fair story, but really the main part in there that leads to, at this point in the season, I've lost a lot of interest in little stories, and I'm nabbing at those bits that are for the season as a whole, the whole story. And the main thing here is we find out that Missy is not in her vault. She's stuck there in the TARDIS. She's traveling with them and got to watch them and their adventures, and all of a sudden, Nardal's like, this is not what we've agreed on. This is not where she's being. And the Doctor's like, no, he's starting to trust her. Which leads right into the next episode. One of the final two, the final little pair. Wonderful. These are what really elevate the season to be top-notch. World Enough in Time. Oh. So, end up on a giant colony spaceship that's more or less empty. Seemingly. Not very many people, it seems. And really, ultimately, what it has is it begins with the little plotline of the Doctor has gone somewhere where there's a distress call. Missy is going to go out pretending to be the Doctor, and let's see how she does. Can she solve things? Can she be good? Well, so we end up with there, and things quickly turn, more than he's willing to trust her with when someone comes out and points a gun at Bill. Doctor steps out. No. Bill gets shot. Things come up from below the ship. The thing that the guy that shot Bill was terrified that these things were going to come. And they did. And they took Bill, and they left. What are they? Who knows? They're early construction for Cybermen. But then we have things where essentially the ship is trapped and trying to move away from a black hole. And they start sort of experimenting with what's going on and describing things. And it's one of those things where you get it, where you understand what's going on slightly beforehand, because there were only like 50 people on the ship. Like 20 went down to the back end of the ship to try and, make it where the ship can get away. And they disappeared, and now there's huge numbers of people in the lower levels of the ship. Where did they come from? The idea is black hole, time, dilation. Those are the generations after. These are many generations later from those crewmen, because time has moved faster for them in their side of the ship. It's a giant colony ship. They're getting time faster. Which is the kind of thing, the way it's set up, you understand that's what's happened before they say it, which is, again, like I said earlier, I love when they do that. Bill. She's now at the bottom of the ship, and she's going through time the slow way. She finds herself in a weird hospital, and finding these people with like cloth bags over their heads, and sort of a weird situation. We meet Razor, which I didn't quite catch his name in the season, but it says his name is Razor here. Ultimately, the Master, the previous incarnation of the Master we'd seen in disguise as this caretaker in the hospital, and an amazing character that sort of ultimately, she got shot, chest blown out. She now has a box in it, first bit of a Cyberman part. And he's there interacting with her, and she ends up there for like 10 years, because while the Doctor, Nardal, and Missy are deciding what to do upstairs for a few minutes, 10 years passes on the bottom floor. It's sort of that sort of, she waited for the Doctor. He told her to wait, she waited. And he gets there just a moment too late, as she is upgraded into a Cyberman. And not like a modern Cyberman like we've seen, but they use the Cybermen from like back in the old series with like the cloth bags on their heads and the thing. Really cool to see them utilize that. And ultimately they use it as this is an early version of a Cyberman, and as technology advances they end up more like the modern ones we've seen. So really cool to see them like tie that old look into the line, where it's not just, oh no, our technology and budget has changed. It's, no, these really have changed over time. So that was kind of cool. And near the end there, we find that the Master, Razor, reveals himself to Missy. And that leads us into the season's final episode, The Doctor Falls. And it is basically setting up, there's this floor that some of the generations have gone to. to escape the Cybermen, and they're defending themselves there. And ultimately, while the Missy and Master are working together to torment the Doctor, things go wrong. The Doctor programs it where the Cybermen are no longer just targeting humans, but now also Time Lords. So they have to get out too, because now they're on the menu. So they all end up kind of working together reluctantly, but ultimately they do, with Nardal's help, who made himself useful. And they get a ship and they blast their way up through to this level where there's other people. And this includes Bill that's there, and they're a little scared of Bill because it looks like the things that have been attacking them. But still in her mind, so as long as she can keep her emotions under control and not shoot an attack out of her forehead, she'll be fine. Now, most of this episode, they have the actress playing the role, and it's like she'll look at herself in a mirror, or a shadow will reveal that she's actually a Cyberman, because in her head, she doesn't see herself for what she really looks like. She sees herself as she's always known herself. But people react to her freaked out because, she's a Cyberman, which I think is a really smart way to go, because you just wouldn't have gotten the emotional response. You end up at a little point where there's tears, and that ties into the first episode. We don't realize it right at first, but there's a real tear there in a Cyberman. That doesn't make sense. Ultimately, it boils down to the Doctor has to make a final stand to get get the villagers here a couple levels up, make a final stand against the Cybermen to help save them. He asks for the Master and Missy to help, to do the right thing. Master, clearly, no. Missy, kinda, but no. They go off, they have their plan, they're able to get down to the lower floor. Ultimately, Missy has the part, because she is the future of the other one. There was a reason within there, and she knew to carry a part. She didn't know why she always knew she wanted to carry this part to fix the TARDIS, but she knew this is the part to carry, and now she knows why. She needs it now. They can repair the TARDIS and get away. So they're headed off to go to the elevators to go down. So the Doctor makes a stand. He has Nardal, a little bit of an argument, and no, go up, save the people, be with them. And ultimately that's Nardal's end, is he's going off to help take care of this next generation of people. Humans on this colony ship. Master and Missy go off and stab each other in the back. Missy decides to destroy the Master, giving him just enough time to get down to the ship and where he'll regenerate. And she's going to go back and help the Doctor. The Master cannot let himself help the Doctor in a future regeneration. So he shoots Missy in the back to kill her. Now, he gives some sort of, story about how don't bother trying to regenerate, blah, 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 I've done such and such. So maybe the Missy is the final incarnation of the Doctor. That is possible. Of the Master. And I think that's ideal if it is. Because she turned to go help him. She was redeemed. She was good. Her final act, the act that made her previous incarnation kill her, was deciding to be good. Deciding to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. And I think that's a fitting end. Now, that doesn't mean the end of the Master in Doctor Who, because while they alluded, perhaps I regenerated from you, we never see that. There can be who knows how many new Masters in between that Master and Missy. So they didn't necessarily go from him to her. So we can still get plenty of other Masters in between them. Who's to say what order they came in, right? But still, in the end, we don't, there's nothing that says that Missy can't actually regenerate, even though the Master said she can't. And we get a further version from there as well. That's also possible. The Doctor blows up the floor, more or less killing him, starting to trigger a regeneration. Bill gets destroyed in that, but because of the whole tie-in with the first episode and the weird water lady Heather, something happens and she joins her. She's now alive, no longer Cyberman, but kind of dead in this weird ethereal being kind of thing. So they help out, get the Doctor back to his TARDIS, enough that, okay, he wakes up there, Bill's gone. She has no idea he can regenerate. That never came up with her. She's a companion that had no idea he can do that. But so she's off with her new with the love interest from the first episode. Wonderful tie-in, by the way. And the doctor is there, and he's starting to regenerate. He's done with it. He does not want to do it. He is upset about it. So he's like fighting it. We get a couple of references there. We get "I don't want to go." Oh, that made me so happy. The final line of David Tennant, the 10th Doctor. We also get his comment of "when the Doctor was me," that I'll always remember when the Doctor was me, which was the final or near final line of the 11th Doctor. So we get some callback references to them. That's good. Oh yeah, we also had a Jelly Baby's episode comment earlier in the episode. He offered someone a Jelly Baby. That made me smile. 4th Doctor reference. But so he's kind of at the end there, and TARDIS ends up somewhere. He stumbles outside, and we see him meet the first Doctor. Obviously a different actor. It was the actor that played it in some sort of TV documentary sort of thing about Doctor Who. But we have an interaction where, leading up to the Christmas episode, which theoretically will be the Doctor fighting his regeneration throughout it while interacting and, playing along with the first Doctor. So it's setting up for a cool Christmas episode. Continuing on, and it was just a really good story. Ultimately, it was Missy's story. Missy's, the Master's, redemption story. So good. Made me really happy. I'm glad that he told that story. That was a good story to tell. A redemption story, but never quite getting to live out that redemption. But making the commitment, the decision, the act to move in that direction, being the final act her previous incarnation allowed her to make. And everything sort of tying up to that moment. Really made for a good season. Top marks, 4 out of 5 stars, for the season as a whole. I mean, there's definitely some episodes that, having to set up a companion, get her used to being just accustomed to the antics that the Doctor gets up to, becoming proficient at it on her own, enough to just survive in these weird foreign environments for 10 years while waiting for the Doctor to come down because of the black hole time dilation. Getting all of that ready took a lot of episodes, and so there are a lot of pretty basic episodes. But overall, the story for the episode, for the season as a whole, was so good. And there were definitely some real top marks episodes in there. Thin Ice was great. The Pyramid at the End of the World, amazing. Those final 2, which, the final ones usually are, because they're the ones tying up the season story. But wonderful. So yeah, really enjoyed that season. And looking forward to the Christmas episode. It left me looking forward to that. I'm going to miss Moffat when he's gone. I know I've heard online there's definitely some people that dislike what he's done, but I have quite enjoyed the take he's had on the series. His take on Doctor Who. So I'll miss him when he's gone, but I'm looking forward to what comes next, and always hopeful. So do let me know what you thought of the 10th series of Doctor Who. Were there key things that I maybe didn't mention or forgot, or thing that you just thought, oh, that was a wonderful thing they did. I loved when they did that. Or are some of the things I like things that bother you or you dislike, or anything like that? Any questions, feel free, comment below. Thank you for watching. Gonna just end this here. It is actually really late now. I need to get to bed in just a few minutes because this took me a lot longer to film than I thought. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.